All right, let's do something a little different today, and let's have a talk while I'm tending to these sheep. There's a lot of Christology there you can talk about. Let's get to it. All right, so I'm out here right now. I had some rams get out this morning. They're not supposed to be over in the breeding group over there. They hopped the fence or went under it. I think maybe a few went one way, the other went the other way, and got in with the ewes and mixed things up a little bit. So had to take care of that. But let's talk about education. There's a segue. So right now, there's a lot of people upset about school closures in our diocese. We have an all things new initiative that's going on, and a lot of people are talking about how upsetting it is that we have to close these schools that have been open for, some of them hundreds of years. And it is a sad thing. When you close a school, you impact a community, because usually that school was what created that community. Back in the late 1800s, before you built a parish, you actually had to build a school. And so those schools, they really did. They created these communities in central Minnesota, but also around the country. And we're seeing so many schools, so many Catholic schools closing. If I didn't say Catholic schools before this, that's what I'm talking about. So you have all these Catholic schools that are closing, and it's going to get pretty bad, I think, here with the All Things New initiative. But here's what I want to say. It was going to get bad anyway. These schools are not sustainable because these schools are modeled after government schools. These schools are modeled after blank checks being written to fund programs and build buildings and have this programming model that just doesn't work and is not sustainable. So these schools, I know they've built the community, but they really were built for a time gone by. They were built. It's hard. There's a lot to this conversation, and I only have a certain amount of time to be able to articulate it to you. But that's why this podcast is, and these videos are so important, because it'll come out over time. But what I would say to you right now is this. The way we do school in the Catholic Church is not working, because it is modeled after the way the government does school. And the government has a much larger pocketbook than the parishioners at Catholic churches. So we can't keep up with the Joneses, right? We can't out-school the government if school looks like government schooling. Now, that's like the negative part of it. The positive part of it is that Catholic school never should have looked like government schooling. Catholic school has never looked like government schooling until the last, 150 years. Catholic schooling used to look like this. Ha-ha! Right? It used to look like, that was the big reveal, by the way, ha-ha thing. This was the way in which kids grew up. 1,500 years ago, if you wanted to get an education, you went to a monastery. And so you would go, and it would be a Benedictine monastery, most likely, and you would work and you would pray. And that work would be study, and that would feed into your life of prayer, and then that prayer would feed into your life of study. And so you would learn the things that you need to learn in the classroom. You would learn those things that you need to learn in the classroom out in the fields and in the chapels, and reciting the Psalms and singing and chanting. This is more what a Catholic school looks like than, go down to your local government school. Yet our Catholic schools have been taken over by this mindset of being like government schools. And so we have, really what we have are pretty much a secular institution with a theology class and maybe mass once a week. That's not a Catholic school. That's probably not a Catholic school. In this diocese, I'm not even aware of them, and I've worked in Catholic schools in this diocese, and I don't want to just like, I want to stay positive. I don't want to just knock Catholic schools in this diocese, because even though it has not been my experience, I'm sure there are good schools out there in this diocese, good Catholic schools in this diocese. So anyway, it's really tough for me to do this, because I've been so hurt by the Catholic schools in this diocese and their lack of zeal for their Catholic identity. So, but that's the point. They've lost their Catholic identity. They don't want to be Catholic. They want to be more like a government school. They want to be another educational option for the community. And so they just keep trying to become more and more like government schools. They keep their mass, but it's optional, because, you can schedule your dentist appointments around the mass, or you can do it. Parents and kids do all sorts of things to get out of it. They let non-Catholics receive communion. The theology department, or any of the teachers, they don't take an oath of fidelity to the teachings of the magisterium. And there's just so much wrong. So much wrong with it. And I can say that because I talked to a canon lawyer, and Canon 212 says that people like myself in this position can comment on these things respectfully. And so these are my respectful comments. Okay, now with that all said, that's again part of the negative, but we shouldn't even be in this position, because our schools should not look like government schools. and so the thing we have to do is we have to build new schools. We have to build new ways to educate our children. And in my view, we have to build more monasteries. We have to build a monastery right here on this land. This is land that I've started a school on, or I'm in the process of starting a school on, right? Stay tuned. We ran it for 2 years here. And we didn't have enough money to build, but we're bouncing back and trying to make that happen. And making these videos is part of that initiative, obviously. But we need to have more monasteries. Make monasteries great again. Right? That should be sort of the slogan that we should do. And I mean nothing political by that, because I'm sure people will interpret that as something political. But we should make our monasteries beautiful again and useful again. There is a monastery in the distance here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, right over there. Bloop. Hold on, can I zoom in? I can't zoom in like this, but maybe I'll be able to in post-production here. There's a monastery over there, and it's $50,000 to go there a year. And the boys' school accepts girls, and the girls' school accepts boys, and they're all confused about everything, and their theology is, suspect. They've got, and I say their theology is suspect because their theology is really suspect. I mean, they had one of their professors. You can just go and look at all their professors. Actually, just do this. Go and look at all their professors and just see what their backgrounds are. And, they have Instagram accounts, or they have YouTube accounts, and you can just go look and see what their theology looks like. And it looks very suspect. I'll say that. And so, yeah. So anyway, we shouldn't settle for that. We shouldn't have that has lost its mission. The mission of Catholic education is not to charge. These guys are ramming through the fence here. The mission of Catholic education is not $50,000 a year tuition at the local Catholic college. The mission of Catholic education is not $16,000 a year at the local Catholic high school / middle school. The mission of Catholic education is not just 4% of the school-age children in the diocese. The mission of Catholic education is to provide an education for everybody that wants it. And we can do that now. And so when our hearts are ready to do that, that will come to fruition. A little bit about how, because maybe you're like, well, that's not possible. Like, they have to charge tuition They have to charge that much because that's the cost of education. It has never been cheaper I'm just picking up some of these. It has never been cheaper to educate a child. It has never been cheaper to educate somebody that wants it. We have all of the tools available to us online. Books are free. You can just go online and you can find any of the great books. If you want to read some of the books that were the rarest books on planet Earth 1,000 years ago, well, now you can go online and find them for free, right? Archive.org, Google Books. There's tons of resources out there. So anyway, that's just part of it. And then you say, well, we got to hire teachers. And it's like, well, what is a teacher? Because there's this government view of teaching where you have to have the authority figure in front of the room telling the student exactly what they need to know about the thing that they're studying, and then the student will tell the teacher back exactly the thing that the teacher said they were supposed to know about the thing they were studying on a Friday or test day or whatever it is, right? Usually the teachers introduce a topic on Monday and then they test on Friday. That's not the way education has worked, right? Education in the Catholic Church is much different than that. It's much more rich than that. The whole way of getting information from a teacher into a student in the Catholic world is through love, right? When you're around, well, look what Jesus says, right? Jesus says that when a student's education is complete, that the student will become like the teacher. And that's because the love is communicated, but the love of the subject is communicated between the teacher and student. Plato said it too, I believe, when he said something to the effect of, when you explore a topic rightly, it leads to a love of the topic. And that love propels you further. That love propels you into the topic more. And so does that happen today? No, we graduate kids that never want to open a book again, right? I mean, in government schools, they just beat the material out of them. They just continue to try to produce more. And so we have this view of education where it's completely wrong. We think more school is better school. It's like, no, the right type of school is the better school. The monastery is the better school. Ora et labora is the right type of school. The scripture is the right type of school. Memorization and repetition are wonderful things. You just have to memorize and repeat the right things. And so we have all of this that needs to be relearned and reimagined and rediscovered by a generation that thinks wrongly about education. We need to create monasteries to educate our kids because we're Catholic, and that's where we send our kids to be educated. So we're going to create a monastery here. Small steps. We'll get there, though. We will get there. We'll get there, right? Starting with signing up for the newsletter. Get connected to what we're doing, to all these small steps, and then go sign up for our, we're going to open this to everybody. Our online school will be available to everybody. So you can go there and sign up for our online school that I'll be launching here in the next few days. It's already in place. I'm just testing out some things. You'll be able to take courses on, the history of the diocese, the history of other dioceses, the history of Catholicism, but also you'll be able to study things like the Summa. You'll be able to study things, the greatest works of our Catholic tradition, City of God by Augustine, Confessions by Augustine, Confessions by St. Patrick. There's just so much that we have to do. So we study so that we can know the truth and do the good, and that's what we're gonna provide for people. And then if they want to show up and study at the monastery, awesome. Well, I'm gonna get going. I've got a few seconds here, so have a wonderful day. Look at this sunrise. This is glorious. Take care.